Let's match the skin color a bit more. To remove the colors affecting part of his body other than the skin, select the mask thumbnail. Enable the brush tool and begin brushing away pixels affecting part of his body other than his skin. Let's adjust the saturation a bit. Adjust the color balance a bit more as well. The colors and contrasts are a lot closer now, even the sun highlights. Let's also remove the color on his hair. Select the selective color mask thumbnail and enable the brush tool. Begin brushing away the color pixels around his head. Because these two layers are linked, whatever happens to this adjustment will also affect the color balance layer immediately. Let's change the selective color to neutrals and adjust the colors further to match his skin more closely to the photo. This level adjustment layer is affecting the entire body. Let's reduce its opacity to make him match closer to the guy next to him in the photo. The sun highlight seems a bit much. Let's reduce the levels of opacity of the visualized light layer a bit. As you can see, he is now looking pretty close to the photo. There are cases when we might need to add cut-out hair pieces on top of the rendered models to make the hair more realistic. For this shot, because she is a bit distant from the camera, her hair looks convincing from the outset. The overall colors, contrast, and the highlights are now looking pretty close to the background photo. The following step is to match this guy with the overall photo using the same techniques covered earlier. Let's close some of the open groups and select the Man on a Phone group folder. Select all the adjustments and layers from the Man walking group using the techniques described earlier. To copy them, hold down the Alt key and move them into the Man on a Phone group. Let's start by first disabling all these layers apart from the visualized light layer and levels clipped onto it. As previously done, we'll try to match his color and contrast with one of these two persons. Disable the visualized light layer mask thumbnail and delete it as previously done. Hold on the Control key and select his group mask thumbnail to select his body. Again, while the selection is still on, go to the Select toolbar. Go to Modify and choose to contract the selection by 1 pixel. Next, click on the Mask button to create a layer mask attached to the visualized light layer. Select the Levels layer to adjust the visualized light brightness. Reduce the levels of opacity slightly. Next, we should try to make the color of his skin to match closely to the man behind him. Turn on the visibility of the selective color layer and the color balance. Disable and delete the selective color mask thumbnail. Create a new mask thumbnail. As previously done, let's brush away the color pixels affecting part of his body other than the skin. Again, the reddish tones should affect the skin only. Also, select and adjust the hue and saturation to match him even closer to the photo. As mentioned earlier, always compare colors and contrast with the background photo. The edges around his arm seem a bit jagged because of the viewer light layer brightness levels. Select the viewer light mask thumbnail and brush away its pixels around the arm and other areas as previously done. Reduce its layer opacity slightly to match him even closer to the background photo. Also, reduce the levels opacity slightly. The highlights of the people in the background photo are matching closer to our 3D model. The following step is to repeat the previous actions on a couple behind. Close the man walking group. To copy all the previous layers used, select all the layers inside the man on a phone group. Hold down the Alt key and move them inside the man with a girl group. Close the man on a phone group. Hold down the Control key and select the man with a girl mask thumbnail to enable his selection. As previously done, disable and delete the viewer select mask thumbnail. While the selection is still on, create a new layer mask thumbnail. Next, remove all the white edges being caused by the viewer select brightness. Use the same techniques covered earlier. Next, disable and delete the selective color mask thumbnail and create a new one. Brush away the selective color pixels affecting part of his body other than the skin, as previously done. Again, tweak the other adjustment layers using the same techniques covered earlier. Next, we're going to emulate the sun highlights seen in a background photo. Select the viewer select layer and adjust its layer opacity. And match his overall contrast as seen in a background photo by tweaking the levels adjustment layer. Also, adjust the opacity of the viewer select layer levels. Remove the Viewlight Select layer levels seen on the edges. And adjust the other layer slightly to match him even closer to the background photo. Next, we're going to repeat the same actions on the girl next to him. Select and copy all these layers into the girl with the man group. Disable and delete Viewlight Select layer mask thumbnail. Hold on the Control key and select the girl with the man group thumbnail. Close the man with the girl group. While the selection is still on, go to the Modify and choose to contract the selection by 1 pixel. Create a new mask thumbnail based on the selection by clicking on the Mask button. Next, select the Viewlight Select mask thumbnail and enable the brush tool. Begin brushing around the edges to remove the bright parts created by the Viewlight Select bright levels. Disable and delete the Selective Color Mask thumbnail and create a new one. Again, select this mask thumbnail and enable the brush tool. Begin removing the selective color pixels everywhere apart from her skin. Decrease the opacity levels of the Viewlight Select layer to reduce the sun highlights on her body. As you can see, everything is looking more integrated and seamless now. We can still adjust few bits and bobs to the overall image to make it look even better. The following step is to add a bit of noise and chromatic aberration to the 3D people to match them even closely to the background photo. To add a noise effect, let's start by opening the Render Elements group and turning on the layer with Alpha channel. Next, go to the Channels tab, hold down the Control key and select the RGB thumbnail to enable the selection. Go back to the Layers tab and turn off its visibility. Zoom out to see the selected areas. Go to the Select toolbar and choose to save selection. Save the selection as 3D People and OK to close the dialog. Go to the Channels tab to see the saved selection. Back in the Layers tab, right-click on the top edge of the document and choose to duplicate. Select the base layer and right-click on it. Choose the option to flatten the image. Go to the Channels tab, hold down the Control key and click on the 3D People channel thumbnail to enable its selection. Go to the Edit toolbar and choose to copy the selection and paste thereafter. Back in the Layers tab, rename the copied layer as 3D People. Next, right-click on the layer and choose to convert to Smart Object. Smart Object layers are extremely useful to retain the editable parameters or filters applied to a layer. Select the main document and the Render Elements group. Select the other document, right-click and choose to duplicate. In the Duplicate Layer dialog, choose the destination to be our main document. Close the document. To duplicate the layer is now on our main document. Zoom in to check the duplicate layer closely. Turn the duplicated 3D People layer on and off to check. To add a noise filter, click on the Filter toolbar. Go to the Noise and choose the Add Noise filter from the list. We'll try to match it with the background photo. The value of 1.12 seems okay for the time being. Click OK to close the dialog. As mentioned earlier, because this is a smart object, the Add Noise filter can be seen here. You can turn it on and off by clicking on this eye icon here. Also, you can edit the Add Noise filter by double clicking on its text. Change it to about 0.9. The final step is to add chromatic aberration on top to match it with the background photo. As previously done, let's duplicate the document first. Select the base layer and choose to flatten it as previously done. Zoom into the document by 100% by typing in 100. Go to the Channels tab and select the Red Channel thumbnail. Enable the Move tool. On your keyboard, press the up arrow once to nudge the red channel up. Next, select the green channel. On your keyboard, press down the arrow once to nudge the red channel down. Select the blue channel and nudge it to the right once to move it. Next, select the RGB channel to see all three colors shifted to create the chromatic aberration. Go back to the Layers tab and duplicate it by right-clicking on it and choosing the option to Duplicate Layer. Choose the destination to be our main document and click OK to close it. Close the document. There's a duplicated layer here. Rename it as Chromatic Aberration. add the word grain in front of the 3D people layer. As you can see, the chromatic aberration is currently applied to the entire image as opposed to the 3D people only. Because the background photo already had some chromatic aberration, the effect is now looking a bit excessive. The next step is to enable the 3D people selection to automatically mask out the chromatic aberration effect from the photo. To do so, go to the Channels tab, hold down the Control key and click on the 3D people mask thumbnail to enable its selection. Go back to the Layers tab. While the chromatic aberration layer is selected and the selection is enabled, click on the Mask button to create a layer mask. As you can see, the chromatic aberration is now affecting the 3D people only. To blend this effect more realistically with 3D people, select the layer and choose a darker color blending mode from the list. Next, select its mask thumbnail and enable the brush tool. Use the white background color to bring in the chromatic aberration pixels around the edges where it's not visible. Also, we can reduce the chromatic aberration opacity slightly. Continue bringing back the chromatic aberration pixels around the edges of areas that might have been taken out by the mask. The 3D people and the background photo are now looking quite seamless. To integrate the 3D people even more with the background photo, we are going to blur the edges slightly. If you look closely, you can clearly see the people's edges being slightly blurry. To do so, let's duplicate the document again. Flatten the document. Go to the Channels tab and enable the 3D people selection, followed by copying and pasting the layer. Go to the Layers tab. Convert the layer into a smart object as previously done. Let's rename the layer as Blur Edges. Next, duplicate and choose the destination document of the layer as previously done. Close this document. This is the layer we've just duplicated. Select the Filter toolbar. Go to Blur and choose the Gaussian Blur option from the list and click OK to close the dialog. The blur is currently applied to the 3D people. Turn the layer on and off to see the before and after effect. To make the blur to affect the edges of the people only, hold down the Control key and click on the duplicated layer. Go to the Select toolbar. Select the Modify and choose to contract by 1 pixel. Go to the Select toolbar again and choose to invert selection. While the selection is still on, click on the Mask button to create a new mask thumbnail. As you can see, only the edges are now blurred, just like the background photo. Finally, we are going to desaturate the 3D people slightly. To do so, go to the Channels tab, hold down the Control key and click on the 3D people channel. Go back to the Layers tab, click on the Adjustments Layer button and choose the Hue and Saturation from the list. Because of the adjacent mask, the hue and saturation will only affect the 3D people. Begin reducing the saturation by moving the slider to the left slightly, or simply by typing in -15. As you can see, everything is now matching perfectly. Zoom in closely to compare the 3D people against the background photo. The following step is to save the image as a JPEG first. Go to File and choose to Save As. Pick the JPEG file format from the list. Accept the maximum quality and OK to close the dialog. Next, let's save the file as a TIFF file format. TIFF files are the best formats for high resolution prints. Go to File again and choose to Save As. Pick the TIFF file format from the list. Flatten the TIFF file and check the alpha channels and the layers option. leave the Save as a Copy option and click Save. In the TIFF Options dialog, make sure the Discard Layers and the Save a Copy is enabled and click OK to close the dialog. Finally, go to the file and choose to save the PSD Photoshop file. One of the greatest things about having a PSD file is that you can always open, edit and save a new copy as a JPEG or TIFF file at any given time. Press F on your keyboard to hide the floating tools, and zoom in closely to check the final result. This concludes our course. I really hope you've liked and found this course useful, and I hope to see you in my next one.